Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Vegas 56, and in the co-main event, we have a very interesting featherweight fight between Dan Ige and Movsar Evloev, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction for this featherweight fight. And the main event of this card is Alexander Volkov versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'll also be doing a full breakdown and prediction for that fight as well, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss that. But to be honest with you guys, looking up and down the UFC card, UFC Vegas 56, it leaves a lot to be desired. There's not a whole lot of compelling fights on this card. But if I had to pick out one fight that I am most interested in on this card, it would be Dan Ige versus Evloev. This is a fight that I really think you have Dan Ige, who has his back against the wall, kind of. He's lost 3 out of his last 4. He's falling out of the top 10. Versus a young up-and-coming killer like Evloev, and this is his chance. You know, he gets a big step up in competition against Dan Ige. We know where Dan Ige's skill set is, and this is a measuring stick fight to see if Evloev can hang with some of these top guys in the featherweight division, and I'm very curious to see how he does against a guy like Dan Ige. And, you know, if Dan Ige ever wants to be in that title discussion again or in that contender discussion again, he has to turn back a guy like Evloev. So if you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, Dan Ige is ranked number 10. Evloev is ranked number 13. Ige is 30. Evloev is 28. They are both 5'7". Ige has a 71-inch reach, and Evloev has a 72.5-inch reach. So if you look at Dan Ige's resume, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, and again, he's lost 3 out of his last 4. His last fight was in December of 2021 against Josh Emmett, where he lost via unanimous decision. But this was a very close fight. You had the first round, Josh Emmett hurt Dan Ige badly. Ige was able to recover and hurt Josh Emmett badly in the second round. And so you had a situation where Josh Emmett clearly won the first round, Dan Ige clearly won the second round, and it was whoever wins the third round wins the fight. Well, the third round was razor close. I'm not calling this a robbery by any means, but this fight genuinely could have went either way. And if Dan Ige gets the nod in this fight, he's potentially the guy fighting in the main event against Calvin Kattar, maybe getting a rematch. I don't know if the UFC would necessarily done that. But my point is, if Dan Ige got that third round, he'd be in a much better position within the featherweight division. But either way, Josh Emmett is elite of the elite in the featherweight division, and not a bad loss to have, especially when it's that close. His last fight before that was against Chan Sung Jung in June of 2021. And going into this fight, I thought if he lost to the Korean Zombie, he'd probably be outstruck and TKO'd by the Korean Zombie, but that really wasn't the case. Dan Ige was getting the better of the Korean Zombie on the feet, but the Korean Zombie used his grappling. He was able to take Dan Ige down, control him on the ground, and basically then Dan Ige's striking kind of went away because he was so worried about the takedown. Then you had the Korean Zombie kind of lighting him up on the feet, kicking the leg brutally. And this was a fight where it was kind of disheartening for Dan Ige because he just could not get up. The Korean Zombie was able to get his back multiple times, just control him on the ground, and win a 5-round decision. Before that was probably Dan Ige's most impressive win. I'm not saying based on the opponent, but I'm saying based on the outcome. He brutally KO'd Gavin Tucker in the first round. Just went out, I think it was like 25 seconds into the first round, caught him with a punch, put him to sleep. Before that, he has a loss to Calvin Kattar via decision. I mean, that's not a bad loss to have at all. You can see a common theme here. The guys he loses to are the top of the featherweight division. Before that, he has a split decision win over Edson Barboza. I actually thought he lost this fight, but it was a very competitive fight. And especially you look at Edson Barboza 2 years ago, closer to the prime of his career. If you can go, 5 hard rounds with Edson Barboza, primarily striking, you're probably a really good fighter. So even though I thought he lost this fight, he impressed me in this performance against Edson Barboza, even though I thought he lost this fight. You move over to Movsar Evloev. He is undefeated in the UFC. He's undefeated in his pro MMA career, but the resume just is not there. And I get it. He's slowly building up and taking slight steps up in competition. His last fight was at UFC 263, June of 2021, against Hakeem Dawodu. And in this fight, he just showed he was the superior grappler. He was able to get Hakeem down, control him on the ground, get the back mount multiple times, soften him up with ground and pound, and eventually just win the decision. But it was not without running into a little bit of adversity. In the third round, Hakeem Dawodu was able to keep Evloev off of him just enough. Just enough. He was lighting him up with some good shots in that third round. But the second that Evloev sensed that Dawodu was really starting to land on him, he went for the takedown, got the takedown for the last, I think it was like 45 seconds. So he knew, okay, this isn't going well for me. Let me change where we're fighting this fight. He took him down, controlled him for the last minute, and won. I think it was 29-28, I think it was, or it might have even got a 10-8 round in the first or second round, because he really was just able to take Hakeem down and control him on the ground repetitively in this fight. Before that was a split decision win against Nick Lentz. This should not have been a split decision win. This was at UFC 257 in January of last year. He clearly won this fight. I think he won all 3 rounds. The only thing Nick Lentz really did, he landed a couple shots on the feet, but the majority of this fight, he just perpetually went for the guillotine, and Evloev was just able to escape it every single time. The commentary team was screaming, "It's tight, it's tight, it's tight." But over and over and over again, Evloev would give up his neck and then easily escape it and get a better position on Nick Lentz. You look at some of the opponents before that, it leaves a lot to be desired. Mike Grundy, unanimous decision win. And this is another thing. Evloev is a decision machine. He does not have a finish since coming to the UFC. And in his 15 pro MMA wins, he has 7 finishes and 8 decisions. So he's not going out there and getting a lot of finishes, only 3 by knockout. So when I look at this fight, I primarily see striker versus grappler. I think Movsar Evloev is going to come out. He's going to try to get Dan Ige down on the ground and control him on the ground. I think Dan Ige is going to come out. He knows what Evloev is going to try to do. He knows he's going to try to take him down, control him on the ground, and just eke out a decision or potentially look for a rear naked choke. I do not think that's going to happen. I do not see Evloev submitting him. The Korean Zombie has great jiu-jitsu, has great submissions. He was not able to submit Dan Ige, even though he had so much control time in a 5-round main event. I don't see Evloev getting a submission here. I think you can really narrow it down to 2 possibilities in this fight. I could see either Dan Ige getting a KO or TKO. Dan Ige has nasty power. Or I could see Evloev getting it to the ground, at least 2 rounds, controlling him on the ground, eking out those rounds, and winning a potential decision. And I've really looked at this fight. This is a very close fight, and I flipped and flopped back and forth. Do I go Dan Ige by TKO via strikes, or do I go Evloev via decision, just using his grappling, controlling Dan Ige on the ground? And I am going to go Movsar Evloev by decision. It was hard for me to pick against Dan Ige. I always pick Dan Ige. I picked him against Josh Emmett. I picked him against the Korean Zombie. I picked him against Calvin Kattar, I believe, as well. I picked him against Edson Barboza. It was hard for me to pick against him. I'm very high on Dan Ige, but I just see that Korean Zombie fight, and I really think that Evloev is a very good grappler, and I think he's a guy that will throw haymakers to then shoot in on the takedowns. I do worry about Evloev's head movement. His striking is a little bit sloppy. He ducks his head down. I could see Dan Ige landing a nasty uppercut and putting him to sleep. I could also see Dan Ige landing a knee. Also, Evloev gets so sloppy sometimes, throwing overhands, looking for a big punch, just to kind of set up the takedowns, that sometimes he almost runs right into a headbutt. So I hope nothing, there's not a headbutt that opens a big cut in this fight and kind of changes the fight. I really hope that doesn't happen. But I think Evloev will be able to get Dan Ige down. I think he will be able to control him. I wonder about his cardio, though, and that's why I say maybe he ekes out 2 rounds. I'm going to say 29-28 Evloev. I think he's going to be able to get Dan Ige down in the first and second round, control him there. But I think the third round, he's going to have a little bit more trouble with Dan Ige, and I think Dan Ige will win the third round. I think he'll be super conservative, but I think he will land the better shots. He'll be waiting for the takedown, and I think he'll avoid the takedown for the third round and win the third round. So it'll be 29-28. I know that Dan Ige is the far superior striker. There's no doubt about that. But you see sometimes in these grappling, in these matches where you have a grappler versus a striker, where the striker is so worried about the grappling that they get clipped with a big shot. We've seen it in Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. I could see that happening in this fight too, because Evloev does throw huge looping power shots. And if Dan Ige is so focused on the takedown that he doesn't worry about the striking of Evloev, he could get clipped as well. I don't think that's going to happen. Dan Ige has very good striking. He has very technical defensive striking as well. His hands are always right at his chin. He's got his chin tucked. He's not super hittable. I know in the past, he's had some crazy fights, like the Edson Barboza fight was back and forth, but I just don't see a guy with the striking caliber of Evloev clipping him, even though I think it's a possibility. I think Dan Ige has the stamina advantage. He's gone 5 rounds multiple times. I think he has the striking advantage. I think he has the power advantage. I think he has the speed advantage as well. So there's a lot of advantages for Dan Ige, and I really think this is a 50-50 fight. But I think at the end of the day, I think Evloev is going to throw some sloppy punches, shoot in on a takedown, get the single leg. He's a very good scrambler. He's constantly scrambling to different positions. Even Dan Ige, even if he doesn't accept the position, Evloev will just continue just scrambling and scrambling until he ends up in a dominant position on the ground. And if he gets you in that back body lock, Evloev does not let go. He will drag you to the ground. He will use trips repeatedly to get you to the ground. He will press you up against the fence. He will knee to your thighs, brutalize the legs in the clinch, and eventually drag you to the ground. That's all he's really looking to do. He's looking to, enforce his style of fight on you, and I think he will be able to get it done against Dan Ige. Again, I have Movsar Evloev via decision. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.